Hello, everyone. Welcome to Life Without Limits because there are no limits to what you can achieve. My name is Joan Kaler. I am an international speaker and teacher. I'm a licensed professional counselor in the United States, and I am host of this podcast. Thank you to everyone who's listening and watching. I'm so thrilled you're here. Today is another exciting interview with someone very special. I know you're going to get a lot out of this. Let me just give you some general information. Today's podcast is the number one reason you haven't found your soulmate yet and how to attract love now. So do I have your interest out there, everyone? I think so. There are so many people who struggle to find the love of their life without success. Instead, they may have one painful relationship after another, or a mediocre, unsatisfying relationship, or no relationship at all. No matter what they try, nothing seems to help. And the reason for their lack of success remains a great mystery. This podcast will help you solve that problem. In this interview, my guest, Stefan Gonick, will help take the mystery out of the search of love and help you understand what has been getting in the way and how to break free and finally attract the love of your life. Here are just some notes on my guest. Stefan is a Soulmate Attraction Mentor. He is an emotional freedom techniques, EFT Practitioner, and founder of the Soulmate Attraction Academy. He shows smart, loving singles who are struggling to find their soulmate how to finally attract that spine-tingling and lasting love they deserve and that they're waiting for, even when they think it's not possible. Because remember, anything is possible. Stefan has been helping individuals and couples with their relationship issues for over 25 years. He has helped thousands of people have the love of their life they most desire. And we are going to be sharing his special gift, the 3 Secrets to Attracting Amazing Love Masterclass, on his website. So I'm going to share that with you. Without further ado, welcome in Stefan Gonick. Hi, Stefan.
Hi, Joan. Very happy to be here.
I'm thrilled that you're here. Absolutely. To say this is a topic of interest would be an understatement. I'm sure there are many people that have been struggling, trying to find the love of their life, a quality relationship, and they don't know what's getting in the way. So, what inspired you to specialize in helping people find love?
Well, in a word, basically, my love life sucked.
Okay, let's not hold back here. Okay. Okay.
So I remember very clearly, there was one day I was 28 years old, and I had just ended the worst relationship I had ever had in my whole life.
Oh.
And I was sitting in my bedroom thinking, God, like what happened? Why did it go so badly yet again? So I was thinking about her, and I started thinking about all my past relationships. And then from the first time, I noticed that I was having a pattern. There was a certain kind of woman that I kept getting involved with that was repeating the same kind of painful experiences over and over again. And so it felt to me like I had this like fatal attraction, to these kind of women. And I realized that as long as that was the case, there's no way that I could ever be in a really wonderful, happy, great, healthy relationship. So that's what kind of drove me into therapy. And the very next day, in fact, I started asking around and found a good therapist and went on this many-year journey. And it took me a long time to finally get to where I am now, which is I did meet the love of my life, and I've been married very happily to her. But it took many, many years. And I went through pretty much everything that everybody goes through. So I am intimately aware through my own personal experience, all the kinds of things that people deal with in their search for love. And this many-year journey is also what inspired me to eventually get training and help other people. Because, we tend to want to feel the most passionate about helping people with the same problem that we had ourselves.
Right.
That's what got me started in all this.
Wow. I love the way you say that. Basically, my love life sucked. Okay.
Really badly. Really. I
How,
was like embarrassed. That last girlfriend, I was even embarrassed to admit she had ever been my girlfriend. That's how
oh
bad.
my goodness. Oh, you seem like such a nice person too. Oh, whatever happened with that? So, how many years have you been married?
I've been married 9 years.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right. Why do so many people struggle to find their life partners? What is this about?
All right. So now instead of just directly answering that question, what I'd like to do is lead a little exercise
Okay.
so that people can kind of help feel for themselves, discover for themselves what we're going to be talking about today. So first of all, I'd like everybody to think about the people you grew up with, usually your parents or some other caregiver, and not worrying about which gender. I'd like you to think about the two most painful traits that you grew up with, either mother or father. So painful trait might be, my parent was emotionally unavailable. It's a very sadly common one.
Okay.
Another painful trait might be my parent had this big anger issue and blew up easily and often, right? Or my parent may have been very critical and judgmental. Or my parent was really needy and I felt like I had to take care of my mother or my father.
Okay.
So the word painful, it's like, that's not necessarily something we think of as pain per se, but it's like it had a really big impact on us. Let's see, what's another one? Well, those are some of the most common ones. So like everybody just to check in for yourselves, what were like the two traits that were most painful for you growing up?
Okay. Okay. Full disclosure here. I would say that my father dealt with a lot of illnesses. So he wasn't, I know I was loved, but he wasn't as emotionally available to me as he wanted to be because he was ill most of the time.
Right. That's true. Sometimes people can have that where, they do love you, but there's something about their situation that makes them not be able to be loving like they would like to be. But we're not trying to, blame our parents. We're just trying to recognize, okay, what do we grow up with? Oh, addictions would be another one, right? A parent with addiction was the other example.
I know there was a lot of tension in our home because my brother had special needs. And back in the 50s, nobody knew what to do with a child with special needs. So there were parenting issues. My father was toe the line. He's got to learn. And my mother is, yes, but he has problems and we need to help him with his problems. So there was a tension of parenting styles. And my mother was very unhappy trying to help my brother. And yet my father was always yelling at him because he couldn't do the things that my father wanted him to do. So there was that.
So there's a lot of yelling. So that was part of it. Actually, that reminded me of yet another common trait, which is to be very controlling. Authoritarian parent is very controlling.
Okay.
So that's another thing that we might grow up with that's painful. It's hard.
Yes.
So anyway, everybody on this podcast, hopefully you've gotten in touch with, two of the worst traits that you grew up with of either parent. Now, what I'd like you to do is think about your last three most significant relationships.
Okie dokie. There might not be too much disclosure about this one, but I'm thinking.
Well, in any case, I like each person to think about, your most recent serious or significant relationship. And just notice whether or not that person had either one of those two negative traits that you got in touch with from your childhood.
Okay.
Right. And then now go to the second last significant relationship and notice if that person had either of those two traits.
Okay.
And then do a third one. See if that person had either of those traits.
We don't have to go back quite that far, but I'm just going to say okay without disclosing anything. This is not for the public. Okay.
Well, if you're like most people, including me and apparently Joan, your answer would be something like, oh my God, yes, these three people all had at least one of these two negative traits. Maybe they even had both of them. And it's like, Holy crap.
I'm going to say very interesting.
Yeah, very interesting, very sadly interesting, because this is something that the great majority of us suffer from. This is what ruled my relationships throughout my teens and into my 20s and 28 up until 31. I was in this pattern where I was attracted to women with this really painful trait that my mother had. Okay. So basically the way this works, so to answer that original question, now that we all kind of have our own personal experience of it, is that as we are growing up, we are subconsciously forming this image of our ultimate romantic partners based on the strongest traits of our parents.
Okay. Yep.
So the strongest traits, that's both good and bad. Now, good traits wise, that's not a problem, right? So let's say, you know, a girl growing up, I'm going to say dad, but like I say, it really can be either parent, whichever one was most impactful. But let's say she had this dad who was really smart and he was really funny and he could be really playful and he was a nice guy, but he was like way up in his head. His heart was cut off. And he was very emotionally unavailable. So we have this list of positive traits, smart, funny, capable, whatever. But then there's this killer bad one, which is emotionally unavailable. So, yeah, you okay?
Well, I was just going to say, my mother did have happiness, but she was unhappy a lot in relationships. And I see the reasons for her unhappiness. I see that I have been following that path. So one of the things that I've chosen to do is recognize why she chose the men she chose, and then for me to break the pattern so that I can find who I'm supposed to be with.
Yes. And that was my first thought. So when I went into therapy, you know, in the very first session, I explained my whole situation to my therapist and all the stuff I had just realized and everything. And then he explained my pattern to me more clearly. Okay. Right. And I had a general idea what the pattern was, but he really specified it for me, you know, like really nailed it. It's like, oh, wow, now I really understand what this pattern has been about. Thank you so much. And my first response to him, though, was I said, okay, now that I'm really clear about what this pattern is, normally I'd be getting involved with my girlfriends really fast. So instead, I need to like spend a lot longer getting to know them so I can find out whether or not they have this negative trait.
Okay.
And then avoid them, right? Like, don't go there, go somewhere else instead. And he said, it's a nice idea, but unfortunately that doesn't work very well, because what's really going on is that my subconscious is picking up on subtle cues from all the way across the room in the first 5 seconds of observing this person that she has that trait.
Oh.
And that is the various thing, the thing that's specifically attracting me to her and making me want to go talk to her. So the thing that he said that was really profound and scary was he said, women with that negative trait are going to be the sexiest women on the planet for you. I was like, man, that
okay.
Talk about, we started sucking and then we just sucked squared, right? So, and interestingly, I had somebody read my material about this topic. And then she contacted me a year later. She goes, Stefan, I read your whole thing about this negative attraction thing with the worst traits of your parents. And it really made a lot of sense. And so I was really on the lookout. You know, it's kind of the thing that you were saying. I was like super on the lookout. And here's how my love life has been going for the last year. I'd meet a guy. I'd be really interested in him. We'd ultimately go out on a date. By the end of that date, I would recognize that, he's one of those guys that has that negative trait. So I'd cut it off, number of dates with him, dodge that bullet, good. Some time would go by, I meet another guy that I was really interested in. We'd go on a date. I'd recognize he's another one of those guys, cut him off. She was, I've been doing that for a year now. That's all I've been doing. I've been having onesie dates with all these guys that fit my pattern. So just being aware of the pattern is a very helpful first step, but the subconscious attraction is so powerful that it's hard to avoid it. And then there's another corollary to this, which triply sucks. So there's going to be some good news at the end of all this, but right now we're staying in the suckage, basically. Okay. So the other thing is that a really good person, that's a wonderful person in many ways, if they don't have that negative trait that we're powerfully subconsciously attracted to, then we're not going to feel any sexual chemistry for that person. And most of us have experienced that. Like I've had a lot of female friends who said, there's this guy I know that I'm friends with, and he is such a great guy, but I just don't feel any chemistry with him. But I could see that he really has just about everything I'm looking for in a partner. And I really like him a lot. And I'll even be jealous when he gets a new girlfriend, because I know that he's going to make a great boyfriend for her. But I just can't feel that sexual juice, and I can't make it happen, And it's so frustrating. That's what's going on in those situations. It's just not. Now, interestingly, when the person does the healing work, they need to break out this pattern. Next time they see the person, they'll go look at him and go, "Oh, there's something different about him." Like working out, or it's like,
so is that where emotional freedom techniques comes in?
Well, we're jumping the gun, but yes, okay. They'll be.
Pull back, Joan. Okay.
All right. So there's this thing about the sexiest people on the planet are the ones that have this negative trait of our parents, the worst negative trait, and people who are missing that negative trait ain't sexy at all, which is frustrating. But that's not the end of the story. There's yet another thing that's even worsely worse than that. All right. And this is a phenomenon where this is a bit more subtle. And this is something, this negative trait thing, I'm not the only person talking about it. I have a different solution for it than most people do, but there are other people who will say the same thing, that yes, we're attracted to people with the worst traits of our parents. But they talk about that there's no way to avoid it. You just try and work it out in the relationship, which to me, it's kind of like entering a relationship hoping the person will change. It's like you're picking the hardest person to work it out with. So I don't like that. I'd rather just break out of the pattern altogether so you don't have to deal with that anymore. But in any case, there's a subtle thing which you won't hear most places at all. And it's really interesting and disturbing. Sucky again. And it goes like this. There's a way that due to our painful experiences growing up as a child. So let's pick an example. Let's say there's, again, that guy, father is great in a lot of ways, but he's emotionally unavailable, right? Mm-hmm. Due to growing up with this painful trait and experiencing the painful trait over and over and over again throughout childhood, the end, regardless of what the painful trait is, even though I'm using that example, the end result is we're going to become super sensitive to anything that even slightly reminds us of that negative trait. And we're going to become very overreactive to it. Okay. And and here's the key, in our overreactivity, we are going to accidentally behave in a way that is going to push our partner to behave more like our parents' negative trait.
Uh-oh.
This is the biggie. This one thing is responsible for more problems in a marriage than any other single thing. So let's look at how this works. So lots of times we're, like I say, we're attracted emotionally unavailable. We're attracted to the worst negative trait of our parent. Let's say that parent had that trait at a 9 out of 10, right? So really bad. Now we may be attracted to somebody who also has that same trait at a 9 out of 10, or we may be attracted to somebody who's a milder version, maybe a 5 out of 10. Okay. If that's the case, we are going to behave in a way that's going to push that person to go from a 5 all the way to a 9 or even 10 out of 10 on that trait, to the extreme limit that if we somehow manage to dodge the bullet of being with somebody with a negative trait at all, so there is 0 out of 10, even then, because of our super sensitivity and overreactivity to anything that even slightly reminds us of the negative trait, we will still push our partner into taking on that trait when they didn't even have it to begin with.
Wow.
That's how extreme this is. So I'm going to give you a concrete example of this so you can see what I'm talking about. So again, back to the unavailable father trait. So let's say this woman, unavailable father, and she manages to dodge the bullet, and she finds this guy who's super emotionally available and loving and loves being close. So it's like, yay, wow, amazing, right? Unlike all of her past boyfriends, right? She finally finds this ideal guy. Now, in any relationship, there are two very primal needs that we have, which is a need for together time, but also a need for separate time, right? We need time to ourselves.
Right.
Now, in this example, we're going to try and make it really perfect, as perfectly as we can. And that is that we're going to say that the ratio of together time versus separate time is going to match between the two people. The only thing that's not going to match is their timing. They're not always wanting to be together or separate at the same time. Now, if the guy is wanting to be with her at a time she wants to be separate, that's not going to be a problem for her. It doesn't trigger anything. But let's say it's Friday evening, and let's say they're not living together yet or anything. They're just dating. So Friday evening, they have dinner together. And she goes, hey, you want to get together tomorrow on Saturday and spend the day together? And let's say that day he happened to have his plans to work on this project that he's been dying to work on for quite a while now. And he goes, oh, I would love to see you, but there's this project I really want to do on Saturday. Let's get together some other time. Now, if she didn't have an emotionally unavailable father, she'd be a little disappointed, but she's okay, fine. We'll get together next weekend, where. But because she had this emotionally unavailable father, the fact that he was unavailable for any reason at all, even though it's a perfectly legitimate reason, even though he's emotionally connected and all that, remember, if it just even slightly reminds her of her childhood past, she's now going to become overreactive.
Okay.
She might become overreactive by getting clingy. She says, oh, really? Do you really have to do that project tomorrow? Can't we do something together? You love hiking, right? Let's go hiking. We can do it, whatever you like to do, just so we can be there. Can we do that? Or she might get overreactive by getting a little, irritated with him, or a little irritable. It's like, okay, fine, do your damn project, whatever. Right? But whatever it is, or she might just
feel rejected.
But that's the whole point, is that she will feel rejected. It's going to be
rejected. Okay.
It's going to remind her of her dad's unavailability. But in his case, he was always emotionally unavailable. This is a guy who's very emotionally unavailable, but he was just kind of situationally unavailable that day. So she's going to overreact to it. Okay. Now, he may stick to his guns and spend a whole bunch of time reassuring her, you're very important to me. There's this thing I've really been wanting to do for a long time, and I keep putting it off, and now I really want to do it. But I love you, and you're great. And then, or you might give in and spend the day with her and kind of resent it. Right. Either way, the end result is it's going to feel a little bad to him, naturally enough. Right. Yes. So the next time they get together, he's going to remember that, and he's going to feel just a little reserved. In fact, he might not even remember it, but he'll feel just a little reserved because his last experience was a negative one. Now, once they got together, after probably about a half hour or so, that little reserve would melt away, and then he'd be fully open again. But when he shows up a little reserved, just a little reserved, her super sensitivity is going to make her perceive his reserve as reminding her of her dad's emotional unavailability, and she's going to overreact again. And she's going to look at him. She goes, "What's wrong?" And he's going to go, "Nothing." He's going, "Nothing." He said, No. I can tell. There's something wrong. What's going on? I need to know what's going on. I need you to tell me. Nothing's going on, really. She's going to start. It's going to trigger some kind of reaction, overreaction. Instead of just asking me, I was like, "Oh, you seem a little off. Is something wrong?" And the guy goes, "No, not really." And then she would go, "Okay, well, let's do something fun," right? That'd be the normal reaction. But for her, it's more intense because of her childhood experiences. So she gets a little intense, which makes him pull back just a bit more. And it becomes this vicious cycle until eventually he becomes this very distant guy. And then until one point, she's talking to her best friend. She goes, when I met this guy, Robert, we first got together, I thought he was like the man of my dreams. I mean, he was so different from all my past boyfriends. He was so emotionally available, so great. And then here it is 6 months later, and he turned out to be just like all the rest of my boyfriends. I can't believe I'm back in the same place. Not recognizing or realizing that she had actually accidentally caused this with no awareness that she was doing it.
Wow, this is fascinating.
It's huge. This is huge. Now you can see why this is the source of really big problems. One of the biggest sources of problems in serious relationships and marriages and things. It's one of the reasons why you see couples having these repeating fights that never seem to resolve. That's the source of it.
Because I work with a lot of children, excuse me. Sorry, everybody. And I do individual counseling, but whenever I do couples counseling, it's always a challenge. And then part of me is thinking, how are these people attracted to each other in the first place?
Right. Well, there's two different things in a relationship, in a marriage. The very basis of the marriage may be this negative trait attraction thing that we've been talking about. In that situation, it's really tough to resolve it. Usually, lots of times, I mean, sometimes you can work it out. Both people are willing to do the healing work on both sides of this, because usually it's a mutual negative trait attraction, a complementary negative trait attraction. If both people are willing to work on it, you can heal together and work it out. But sometimes the best thing to do is to get out of it and heal yourself, and so that you're not attracted to that kind of person again.
So you went through all kinds of therapy and then you finally recognized this in yourself? Is that you?
No, I learned it. I've learned about it right in the very beginning. My therapist explained this stuff to me early on.
Okay.
It just took us a long time to get through it. One other thing I want to make sure I point out is, even though we use the example of emotionally unavailable parent, to talk about this whole thing, this actually works for every negative trait. It's not just that one. I just picked that one because it's the most common negative trait that people deal with, and the example is really easy to talk about. But if you have a partner with anger, if you had an angry parent, you're attracted to an angry partner, you will inadvertently behave in a way that makes the partner act out even more. Not that it's your fault. I'm not saying it's your fault, but it's just like it wasn't her. The way she accidentally acted to kind of push him to be more emotionally unavailable can happen with anger issues. It can happen with somebody being critical and judgmental of us. We can act in a way that'll make them even more critical and judgmental. Every negative trait.
It's all in our subconscious. Whatever our experiences are growing up, we file all this stuff in our subconscious, so we don't even know the reason that we're making poor decisions, because it's not consciously aware to us.
Exactly.
Yes, and that's what your program and that's what counseling does, is to do some research, do some digging, investigating, really go deep to find out how all this got started in the first place. Whenever somebody says to me, are we going to have to go back to my childhood? And I'll say, yes, we are, because that's how this whole mess started. So we're going to find out what your triggers are, what the unhappy moments, what the traumas were, so we can sort this out.
Yes. And, unfortunately, we do have to go back to our childhood, because that is where it all started. A lot of people often will say, I really want you to help me, but I don't want to have to talk about my childhood. It's like, I understand nobody wants to go back there because it was painful. In fact, most of us put a lot of energy into trying to block it out. Right. But blocking it out, first of all, keeps it all inside, because it feels like we're blocking it out, but what we're really doing is blocking it in.
Yeah. Oh, I like that.
Keeping it inside of us. And so it's running us, it's ruling us. And, the pain lives inside of us, whether we're always aware of it or not. But every time it flares up with a partner, that's the old pain that's coming up. So we think we're avoiding it, but we're not avoiding it all. It just comes up in our relationships. But the good news is you can feel it. You can release all that pain, get rid of it. And so instead of suppressing and holding it all in, you can get it all out and release it. And then it's done. It's gone forever.
I was trained as a cognitive behavior therapist. And then I hear all the information about, well, let's just stay with the present. And then with my specialties of OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder, and trichotillomania, everybody wants to know, well, how can I stop this behavior? I said, well, we can deal with the behavior, but that's not going to solve the problem. We have to look back to see how this got started in the first place. And you may very well have inherited some traumas. So then I go into that as well. So it's never just about the surface thinking and surface behavior, the conscious behavior. There's always something underneath that's causing us to do what we do.
Right. So that brings us to the question of, what can we do about this?
Yes.
Because you're not doomed. If you're listening to this going, oh my God, this is why I've been having these one horrible relationship after another. By the way, this is all true for people who have no relationships, by the way. Because some people go, well, I'm not attracted to the worst traits of my parents. I'm not attracted to anybody. I'm not getting into any relationships. What's going on there, just so you know, for those of you in that situation, is that you are attracted to the worst traits of your parents, but that's so scary and threatening that you're just staying away from all relationships. But if you start to open your heart and get the courage to be into a relationship, then you're going to run into the negative attraction pattern. So unfortunately, yes, it does apply to you, even if you're not doing any relationships yet. So the question is, how do we break out of it? It's very easy to feel super discouraged at this point. You're like, oh my God. But the good news is that you can break out of it, and you can also break out of it quickly. When I worked with my therapist using more regular therapy methods, it took 3 years to help me break out of my negative attraction pattern, right? Which was thrilling at the time. Like, yay, never have to deal with that kind of partner again. But 3 years is a long time, I thought. But I accepted back then because I didn't know any better. I thought, well, therapy is a slow, gradual process, right? But it turns out it is possible to break out of this kind of negative, powerful, subconscious negative attraction pattern in a very short time. So there's this thing called EFT, or the emotional freedom technique. A lot of people just call it tapping.
Right.
And they call it tapping because it involves using your fingertips to tap on acupuncture points on your face. If you've never heard of EFT before, there's just 10 of them, and we use those same 10 points for everything. It's very easy to learn these points. EFT, or tapping, is this remarkable tool for rapidly releasing negative, painful emotions. So let me talk kind of in general terms how you would heal this and break out of the pattern to begin with, and then the EFT way of doing it.
Yes.
So the general way you can use any method is just the main difference is how long it'll take. So when you have a parent's negative, a parent has this negative trait that they're acting out on you, the way we want to break out of that pattern is to heal representative memories of experiencing that negative trait with your parent. Because what's going on here is that when the parent does this painful thing, a few things happen. First of all, it's painful, right? Let's say you had a parent with anger issues and they're screaming at you and saying horrible things, right? So there's the pain of what the parent's doing, like, so you're getting all this pain. But there's also this very disempowering part where you feel completely helpless and powerless because you're this little kid and parent's big parent. But also there's the loving energy that's missing, because we all desperately want to be loved by our parents, even ones that are abusing us. So what happens is our inner child is being painfully treated and desperately wants that parent's love. And so they try anything and everything to try and get it. Like the people pleaser pattern. It's like, I'm going to try and figure out whatever my daddy wants and do whatever he wants. I'll try and win his love. In some way, I'm desperately trying to get it. But because of who he is in this context, I can never get it. But that gets me stuck. My inner child becomes stuck around forever trying to get daddy's love. And then as an adult, I find daddy substitutes or mommy substitutes, right? Whichever, who I then try and win that person's love. But because they're like my parent, I can't get it from that person either. So it's this really intense subconscious psychological hook, right? It's one of these things when the person acts worse, it hooks us stronger because it then reminds us even more of our parent. So what we need to do is go back to the original experiences as young as possible, because this all happens in the first 8 years of life. So we want to look for some representative memories in the 0 to 8 range of experiencing that parent's negative trait, and then work through and release all the pain of the experience, and then also help our inner child get the loving energy that she or he was originally needing and not getting. Once you release all the pain and our inner child finally gets that missing love, then it becomes resolved. It becomes complete. It becomes closed. And now we're no longer, first of all that stuff about, super sensitive, overreactive, that all gets taken care of. And now that we've received the love that we'd never got, we're no longer in that place of trying to get it from somebody else who's a stand-in for a parent. So it takes care of the whole thing. Now, with regular therapy, that takes a long time. It's trying to work through all that is a very slow, gradual process.
Right.
And so you feel the pain of it over a long time, 3 years for me, right? When I use EFT with my clients, it typically, all I have to do is heal 3 or 4 representative memories. And it generally takes around 1 session per memory to heal it. So for any one negative trait that somebody is attracted to, it generally takes, approximately 3 or 4 sessions, maybe 5. doesn't take very long at all.
Right,
Now, if there's 2 negative traits, then it's going to take maybe 3 to 5 sessions for that one. But still, we're not talking about very long. It's very quick.
right.
So, which is incredible. I mean, could you imagine having just a few sessions and then you're not only are you no longer attracted to people with that negative trait, but you actually feel an aversion, like yuck.
Oh, wow. Oh, this is so much fun. Self-tapping is in my future. But ladies and gentlemen, please know that I am a advanced certified practitioner. So I've been doing this since 1998. So I know what I'm doing when it comes to tapping. But this is fascinating, Stefan. Okay.
So the great news is that it's quick. So what happens is you feel this aversion to people with a negative trait instead of them being the sexiest people on the planet for you.
Okay.
They're now
weird around.
And the people without that negative trait who are great people now become sexy. So before you do the healing, if you see somebody from across the room where the bells go off, fireworks, blah, all that stuff, the best thing to do in that situation is turn around and walk the other way. If you meet somebody from a distance, right, you get, if you're having that stronger reaction before you've done the healing work, it's very, very, very likely that it's that negative attraction pattern we're talking about. So it's like danger,
Yes. So,
but
I don't mean to make light of any of this because there is nothing more painful, oh my gosh, than having a relationship that doesn't work, or thinking that you can't find the love of your life, not being in a relationship. These are all we're all human. I can speak for myself. I've been taken down through very sad situations. So we're not making light of anything in this because the heart is a very, very tender place.
It is. And that's actually, I'm here I agree. I'm not making light. On the contrary, I think this stuff is really challenging.
Yes.
But I'm here to bring hope.
Yes.
That there's a way to break free of this stuff forever.
Right.
So that part of your life is over now. You never have one of those kind of painful relationships ever again. And it doesn't have to take long. So that's the really cool thing.
Relief and hope. You don't have to continue to be attracted to people who aren't for you, who you're not supposed to be with. Yes. That does bring hope. And anyone, I don't care what age you are, I don't care how many bad relationships you've been in, I don't care how many times your heart has been broken, it is possible for you to find the love of your life.
Absolutely. And particularly, I like to say something about the age thing. There's a lot of women who, once they pass a certain age, think it's too late.
Oh, no.
That age might be 50, it might be 60, it might be 70. At some point, they go, okay, that's it. It's over. It's too late. It's a big misconception in society.
Yes.
And it is not too late. It is never too late. Even though the women will come up with all these rationalizations like, well, there's a lot more women than men at my age. Oh. Men are only interested in women much younger than them. There's all these rationalizations that seem plausible. Mm-hmm. But if you think about it, if you heal this stuff, you become much more radiant. Yes. So even if there's like a 2-to-1 ratio of women to men, as you do your own personal healing, you stand out. It's not about competition.
Yes.
Yeah, it's about
stuff, and then your energy system changes, your biofield changes, your chakras change, all our energy system changes, and then you put out a different signal.
That's right.
Out into the universe.
Right.
Yes.
It's not about competing. It's about matching with the person who's right for you. Right.
Let's say that again, Stefan. It's not about competing.
It's not about competing. It's about matching with the person who's most right for you. So there could be 100 other women in the room. And if the right guy for you is in that room, you're the one he's going to want to be with. And the only challenge there is just for you to be visible, right? Yes. If you're hiding, then he won't see you. But if you're visible, then he will. So that's the only challenge once you do the healing. Is just
so cool. Stefan, is that particular website available that I can take people to, soulmate.me? I mean, is it available now that I can show people the website, or what website would you want?
You could definitely show people the website, but there was one other important thing that I wanted to mention to everybody.
Yes.
So we've been spending this whole interview talking about being powerfully subconsciously attracted to people with the worst traits of our parents. So that is the single biggest block to find our soulmate. That's why I called it the number one reason. However, I have distilled, there's many potential blocks, but I have distilled things down to 3 key blocks. Okay. And there are other potential blocks, but there's 3 key blocks that apply to everyone. And the other blocks may or may not apply to any individual. And so I created a masterclass that's an on-demand masterclass. So you can just, go watch it when you're ready. That I call the 3 secrets to attracting amazing love. And so this masterclass talks about all 3 key blocks. We've already spoken a lot about the first one, and there will be some repetition in the masterclass because it also talks about the first one. But it's going to also go into depth about the second one and the third one, so you get the full picture. And it's also going to go into even more detail about how you can heal all this stuff. I kind of gave the really quickie version in a couple of minutes, but I have in the masterclass, I spent like 20 minutes talking about how you can, what you need to be able to do to heal all this stuff. So I invite everybody to go check it out. It's free. And we have a special URL for it.
Okay.
Right. So it's *2, the number 2, right? So *2 soulmate.me, not .com, .me /Joan. Jon.
Oh, it's going to have me in there. I want to see, let's see. Hold on, folks, because I want to see if I can I want to go to the internet and pull that up. I think it's so important. All right. *2 soulmate. Okay. Thank you all for your patience, because I think it's really important to share this. And if I could type, that would be even better.
So I'll say it again verbally while we're...
Yes, go ahead.
So again, it's number 2 soulmate.me /Joan, JOAN, Joan. And then you'll see a place where you can access this masterclass, the 3 secrets to attracting amazing love.
We might have to leave it at that because I'm doing a really bad job of pulling this up right this second, just because of the spelling, not because of the soul. Okay, here we go. Soulmate.me /Joan
/.
There you go. And then here we go. Let's see. Ta-da! All right, folks. Thank you for your patience. Now we're going to get to the rice and the tofu of this. Okay. Yeah, because I want you all to see this. I think this is so cool.
Yeah, also I'd like to say one more thing about once you've healed. Remember, I talked about how, before you heal, people with the negative trait are the sexiest people on the planet. And people without the trait aren't sexy at all. Oh, yeah, here's the page to access the masterclass where I talk about a bit more what's in the masterclass. But in any case, and then I said people without the negative trait aren't sexy at all. Once you've healed that, there's my wife. See her?
Oh, she's lovely.
She's gorgeous.
Hi.
And it's actually co-hosted by my friend Margaret Lynch. And
beautiful.
So there it all is.
Okay.
But one of the things I want to tell you is that, I said before you do the healing, if you see somebody across the room that you have this super intense attraction for, that's danger signs, get away. When I met my wife to be, and I'd already finished doing all this healing, we had this, intense connection. And we knew by our 3rd date that we were the one. and that we wanted to marry each other. And we were married 9 months after we started dating.
Wow. Oh, I am so happy for your happiness
Yeah,
and the hope
thank you.
that you're giving to everyone on what is possible. It is possible.
That's very kind.
Yay! We'll have a follow-up interview someday.
I would be very happy to.
Oh, this is marvelous. Okay, everyone. Here is a program for you. So if you still think it's not possible, you're wrong, number one, but go ahead and contact Stefan, browse that website and see what you think. So that's the best way to contact you, right, Stefan, is to just go to that website or,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, single to soulmate.me. I have a contact form, and very happy to talk to anybody who has questions or would like to work together or anything.
Okay, and I am absolutely shameless because I'm going to share my website here for
Oh,
my.
actually, can I share one more thing too?
Oh, sure. Let me just go ahead. Go.
I have a YouTube channel. It's got 20,000 subscribers and 2 million views.
Wow.
And
Holy.
within that channel, I have a thing called Love Talk Q&A where I already have answered many questions around finding love. So it's another source of help and information you can find. Just look for my name, Stefan Gonick. Actually, Stefan Gonick EFT. I have two channels. A personal one that's got almost nothing on it, and then this other one has 63 videos on it, and you can check it out there.
Oh, that is so cool. Okay, folks, because I want to show you mine too. So if anyone has any questions about me, feel free to contact me at joan@joankaler.com, because I do help people all over the world, truly. So, yep, I am there for sure, but I'm going to stop sharing. Stefan, this has been fascinating. So I'm going to be doing a lot of meditation on my own, exploring your website. I'm so happy to have you on the podcast. I thank you so much for your time. Everyone out there, thank you for joining us today. Send me your questions. You know how much I love questions, but thank you for joining me. If you know of someone that could use this program, please share it with them. Please rate this on iTunes. And until the next time, because you know I always have fascinating guests on my podcast. So thank you, Stefan, so much for your help today. I feel a great sense of relief already. So I know that there are many, many, many thousands of people out there that are going to appreciate this podcast. Thank you, Stefan.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very passionate about helping people find the love of their life.
We share that same passion for sure.